this violence that we witnessed in Minneapolis yesterday, I mean, the only surprise is that it hadn't happened before and potentially in other places, because the more these efforts are made by ICE, operating often in direct contravention of laws that require them to identify themselves, to have a search warrant before they burst into people's homes, the more this goes on, the more febrile the situation will be created on the streets. And there is reason to believe that President Trump may not mind that as he looks for possible reasons to invoke the 1807 Insurrection Act and flood America's streets, particularly in Democrat-run states, with active duty military personnel.
Absolutely. Wow. So this is not one unfortunate, terrible incident. This is the beginning of a new reality across America.
Yeah, and there will be more very, very tragic incidents, Andrew. It is inevitable, given the way in which ICE and the Border Patrol agents have been behaving, not just in the last week, but for the last many months, as they have swelled their ranks, often with people who are receiving insufficient training. In many cases, their background checks are not completed by the time that they are deployed onto the streets. And they have the imprimatur of impunity from President Trump and from Kristi Noem, the Secretary of Homeland Security, basically to do pretty much whatever they want as the country begins to resemble a police state.
Americans have been divided, obviously, politically for a very long time now. But when you see, on the one side, sort of Republicans remembering the killing of Charlie Kirk and the kind of gleeful celebrations among some radical Democrats about that, and then you're seeing the other thing happening on this side, it's beginning to feel that the divisions in America are going to be impossible to heal.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're insurmountable. I mean, this has been such a polarized society for so long, and it's the polarization that you can trace, back over the last 15 years, 20 years, that directly led to Donald Trump creating his Make America Great Again movement, moving to the right, and not believing that it was even admirable to try and govern from the center. And so in this polarized environment, I think there are real challenges now. We've seen some clashes today between protesters and federal agents on the streets of Minneapolis. But, conversely, Andrew, one can argue it is pretty stunning that there aren't hundreds, if not thousands of people descending on the White House today, protesting over what took place yesterday. The country becomes more febrile, more brittle with each passing day. And yet, on the other side of the aisle from President Trump, still a shocking absence of leadership, with the exception in the last 24 hours of men like Jacob Frey, the mayor of Minneapolis, and Governor Walz.
What a day, ending what a week. Thank you very, very much indeed, Simon. A doleful conversation, but a very important one. Now let's hear from the 47th Mayor of Minneapolis, who was in post from 2014 to 2018, Betsy Hodges. Betsy, thank you very much indeed for joining LBC tonight. And let's just start by asking you for your reaction to what happened in your city.
Well, my first reaction is the tragedy of it, and my heart goes out to the victim and her family and her whole community, and of course Minneapolis and Minnesota, who have been through a lot in the last 5 or 10 years. So my first reaction is the tragedy of it. My second reaction, of course, is people, I understand the temptation to debate whether or not it was a legitimate shoot. And of course it was not. But part of authoritarian playbook is to have us debate things that we can see with our own eyes and question what we can see with our very own eyes and debate whether or not that's actually reality. Getting people topsy-turvy is part of the playbook of authoritarianism. Part of Trump's playbook.
Do you believe that Nicole Good was trying to drive away when she was killed?
That would be my assumption, given anything that I know.
But I don't. Out of it.
And what really needs to happen, and if I were one of the leaders, and this is, of course, what the governor has been pointing out and calling for, is what you need is some kind of investigation, somebody to actually ask the question before answering the question. I'm no longer in positional power in Minneapolis, so I can have an opinion and tell you what it is. But I have to make decisions. they need information.
We were just hearing just now from our Washington editor, Simon Marks, that investigating this incident is being taken away from Minneapolis and Minnesota and handed to effectively the federal government. How concerned are you about that? Do you also think there's a danger of there being a cover-up?
I think there is a cover-up. I don't think we're in danger of it. I think that's exactly what's happening. The Trump administration is adept at covering up anything it doesn't like or anything it doesn't want us to know about. The American people are adept at sniffing that out, and so that's part of the reason there's been so much tension. But even debating the investigation of this incident, you know, we run the danger of legitimizing the fact that ICE was there at all. We sort of, by debating, was this a good thing to do or a bad thing to do or what happened, actually legitimizes the fact that ICE is there at all. Bringing a gun to a policy fight is perverse and it is civically corrosive. And it is exactly what the Trump administration is doing around immigration. They're just, you know, it's part of their larger plan of how they want to run and rule and dictate the country. But it is perverse and it is civically corrosive.
So President Trump has been alleging that Minnesota is home to a very large illegal population of people from Somalia. It's extremely dangerous. What is the actual situation in your state, in your city?
You know, in Minneapolis, you know, when I was mayor, one of the prides of Minneapolis is that Minneapolis has the largest Somali population outside of Mogadishu, that for many, many years we've taken in refugees and immigrants from Somalia, and they have been building and revitalizing our community for, you know, a generation or more at this point. And so they are a strength and a pride of Minnesota and of Minneapolis. They are not a problem for Minnesota and Minneapolis. In as much as every community has challenges and people who are creating problems. That's true in every community. To sort of pull that out of the Somali community and say they're a problem, well, again, that's just part of an authoritarian playbook designed to separate people from one another for no good reason.